Hi, we're Team 38 Caracas Energy Alliance from Venezuela, and we're here to present a roadmap to prosperity for our nation. Venezuela is a Latin American country often known by its Caribbean coastline, where much of its population is settled, but most of all by owning an oil rent-dependent economy. The dynamics of the petrostate has influenced its history, its culture, and naturally its energy sector. Despite its vast energy resources, Venezuela faces a contradictory energy and economic performance, ranking in the lowest positions of GDP and ease of doing business. In addition to fossil-fueled energy plants, the country has important hydropower facilities that account for about 60% of the power supply. However, this hydropower share is currently decreasing, while power transmission and distribution losses are strikingly high. Additionally, almost half of the power installed capacity is unavailable, and other renewable energy resources are unexploited with negligible infrastructure and several unfinished projects. The energy crisis itself translates into widespread shortage of domestic gas and transport fuel, but also frequent and unpredictable energy blackouts, hampering basic need access and important public services such as water and healthcare, very concerning due to the humanitarian crisis and the current pandemic, which is exacerbating an already dreadful situation in Venezuela. The main causes behind this tragedy are decades of corruption, unsustainable public spending, mismanagement of resources, lack of proper investment and maintenance, highly subsidized fuel and power, plus inappropriate public policies that unfortunately sum up into a total wasted energy potential. However, Venezuela is still blessed with the largest hydrocarbon reserves in the world and huge hydropower potential. Other renewable opportunities are related to solar and wind energy, mainly in the northern coastal areas. Also, there are high-temperature geothermal systems in northeastern Venezuela, which are the most promising for power generation. In addition, Venezuela has several mineral reserves, one of the most important being the Orinoco Mining Arc, or OMA, in the Amazon rainforest, a biodiversity treasure that is currently being threatened by illegal mining groups, causing not only an ecocide in the Amazon, but also violating human rights. To address this complex scenario, our vision revolves around three interconnected and complementary pillars that need to be addressed simultaneously. ERA stands for Energy Security, Resources Synergy, and Assets and Know-how, aiming to use Venezuela's energy potential to empower people in an efficient, inclusive, and rational manner. In order for this to happen, some cultural challenges need to be addressed, such as institutional trust and paternalism. For now, let's start with energy security.
In the attempt to provide the citizens from Venezuela with free electricity with a system that wasn't conceived for residential needs, and with oil prices going down, Venezuela faces a complete collapse of its electricity system. The Guri Dam was actually meant to supply electricity to the basic industry, a series of state-owned companies that are in charge of almost all mining and forestal resources, on a win-win deal for both sectors, since this industry paid an important price for that electricity. In consequence, and even though the residential electricity consumption has been almost the same since the 90s, the industrial electricity and energy consumption went down to historic lows in 30 years, dropping the GDP per capita to figures from the last century, on a country that highly depends on exporting raw material and hydrocarbons. Clearly, this structure is completely unsustainable and do not ensure energy security to any of the sectors involved. So we propose a four-step solution to ensure energy supply to all sectors, considering the country's health crisis, natural resources, the existing infrastructure and projects underway, but most important, understanding that the only way to maintain and upgrade the current system and to develop new projects is to have a financially sustainable roadmap. The first challenge to be addressed is the humanitarian crisis. It would be ridiculous to start talking business when Venezuelans are dying because of blackouts. And for this, we managed to contact with several hospitals to evaluate their needs. With just a couple $1 million, we will be able to provide most hospitals with power generators. And after this issue is solved, the machine will start moving, and it should work like a well-oiled machine. By ensuring the basic industry energy demand, we could get the funds and elements to improve the electricity system elsewhere, and also get the key raw materials for the next year, the refining industry, in order to cover the cooking and transportation fuel demand. Finally, after reviving these two industries, it will be possible to provide civil society with a fair cost energy supply. Once again, taking into consideration energy subsidies would need to get down as the economy recovers and people's income rises.
The R pillar is about taking full advantage of energy resources by means of a sustainable management, while transitioning to cleaner alternatives. To achieve this, four goals need to be addressed related to First, illegal mining in OMA. 2. Reviving the extractive industry. 3. Increasing the share of renewables. And finally, owning a cleaner energy matrix in the long run. Goal 1. To address this illegal mining case that also affects neighbor countries, we suggest the creation of the Peace and Nature Protection Initiative, a collaborative commission led by key stakeholders seeking to first provide technical capacity to security forces in the region in order to locate illegal mining operations and demobilize gangs. Also, track origin of illicit mining imports and penalize engaging actors in stopover countries. In addition, engage with environmental and human rights NGOs to raise awareness and stimulate investment to investigate human rights abuses and evaluate the scope of this ecocide. Then, advance in existing legislation that prohibits unregulated mining in the southern Orinoco. Oil revenue will be essential to rebuild the nation's prosperity. For this, you have to get the extractive sector back on track. We suggest creating an agency in charge of devising strategies to, first, heal the economic collapse by restoring market mechanisms and also engage deals with creditors to restructure PDVSA's huge debt. International financing will be needed, so it's crucial to negotiate with organizations like the IMF. This will allow the increase of much-needed imports while gradually rebuilding international confidence to attract foreign investment. Also, address PDVSA's management by investigating corruption cases and establishing penalty acts. Finally, implement regulations to staff the company with capable managers to avoid Dutch disease and prevent history to repeat itself. To transition into a cleaner and more diverse energy matrix, we suggest a CEM initiative, a commission in charge of devising public policies aiming to exploit the renewable energy potential, especially hydropower, and then diversifying into solar and wind energy tech. Also granting concessions to the mining sector to prospect raw materials for the future potential usage in green technologies. And finally, in the long run, the nation should have a minor reliance on fossil fuels and an open-minded vision to expand even more its energy matrix beyond 2050 to technologies such as geothermal and nuclear energy that could work given its resource context.
Our third pillar is about how can Venezuela manage better their energy system. Tangible and intangible assets built by education, institutions, and cooperation. The main values to performance this pillar are the training and professionalization of the sector, the technical modernization, the diversification of the electrical market, and the decentralized management of the national electrical system. Venezuela needs to promote a conscious energy consumption. First of all, a state must manage two different sun times to take advantage of solar light during workday. Also, the measurement system must be improved in each home. Then it will be possible to reduce subsidies progressively according to the needs of each region and reward industries when their consumption is efficient. To develop alternative and clean energy sources, country must be open to private and international equity interested in use our solar and wind potential to generate energy. To make more attractive this joint model, a part of the generation could be off-grid and privately marketed. Continuous collaboration between universities and energy industries. It's important from the day to train current personnel, exchange knowledge and experiences, and also attract and retain young professionals to work in national energy industries. Finally, system must be discharged and upgraded. Transmission lines need maintenance and also technological replacement, but most important, Corpolec must be vertically disintegrated, holding companies to generation, transmission, and distribution, and managing the system with a modernized load dispatch center. In this plan, dealing with the crisis is priority. More than policies, this is about a change of the energy model that must be communicated to the people with transparency to well manage the expectations.
So this is it. This is a roadmap to prosperity and a greener future for Venezuela. And quoting to remarkable Venezuelans, the country needs to be rebuilt from the ashes, and for that we need to harvest the oil for future generations. However, given the circumstances, we'll need a great push and work together to get started. So, would you join us?